What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show here on a Monday morning, live on DSM-Media Philadelphia YouTube channel. Guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, if you like the content, if you want to be interactive throughout today's show or any of our shows here on the channel, make sure to support by smashing that subscribe button, turn on notifications. It is the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I am one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Eagles headed to Seattle to take on the Seahawks on Monday Night Football. Darius Slay out. Jalen Hurts questionable with an illness. And Sean Desai headed up to the booth. It is now Matt Patricia's defense, most likely for the remainder of the year. We're going to be breaking it all down. The Sixers also go 2-0 over the weekend. And Embiid stays in MVP form. We're going to talk about it all, man. But Scotty, happy Monday, my man. And how are you feeling? Happy Monday, Brett.
Happy Monday, my man, and happy Monday out there to anybody that's tuning in. Definitely appreciate you. Yeah, it's a wild Monday to start the week. It doesn't really feel like a Monday. To be clear, I usually, take a nice relaxed approach at work on Mondays after a Big Eagles Sunday. But
and
today,
how are you feeling this morning?
I'm getting to it this morning, man. I got up pretty early. Wanted to get my work out of the way early and get started on it, and then just move into game day mode and enjoy my second half of the day in peace. So that's my plan. Obviously got some Sixers basketball before the Eagles game tonight too, so we don't even have to go through that nervous period an hour before a game.
Yeah,
we can just jump into the Sixers
sitting there waiting
and flip over whenever the game's ready. But yeah, hopefully Jalen Hurts is playing tonight. I'll say that to start.
Well, it does look like Drew Lock is set to play for Seattle. So
interesting enough,
the NFL decides to flex Seahawks Eagles to Monday Night Football, and the first time ever doing so, you might be getting Marcus Mariota versus Drew Lock on Monday Night Football. So let's see how things go. I did see the report earlier. I think it was by Rappaport that said Geno is considered a long shot to play, and most quarterbacks who are in Jalen's boots right now tend to normally play, even with an illness. Depends how he feels throughout the day, everything like that. But we'll see tonight, man. Great question, Brad. Who plays more quarters tonight out of four? The Eagles or Embiid? Who shows up? Who has more points, man? We talk
great
about
questions, Brad.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Joey.
I'm
Joey
gonna go with Embiid, man. Yeah,
but
I don't think the Eagles are touching 45 or 40 tonight.
No, they will not, man. But to start the show, we're not even going to talk about the offense. We're going to talk about the news that broke yesterday morning on the defensive side of the ball. Sean Desai basically out, demoted, sent up to the booth. Matt Patricia, it's his defense. He's the play caller. He's taking over this defense on this Monday night, man. And there's so much to go into this. Look, first and foremost, I'm not mad at the move itself. You simply cannot be worse than Sean Desai. Even if Matt Patricia is an absolute train wreck tonight, you cannot be worse than Sean Desai. So who cares, right? San Fran, Dallas, the Buffalo game, even though it was a win, you cannot be worse than that. It's kind of refreshing that they see that there's an issue internally. They're not loyal to a fault like we saw post Super Bowl run. And they were able to adjust midseason, and maybe it's the right move. However, it's a really bad look, Scotty. And the first thing that hit my mind when the news broke when we were on Turf Talk yesterday morning was this. Championship teams, Super Bowl caliber teams, man, they don't have this problem. They're not changing or switching or firing head coaches or coordinators at 10-3 with 4 games remaining. Dallas, you lost yesterday. You controlled your own destiny to a division title. You're most likely, knock on wood, a top 2 seed in the NFC. And we're sitting here heading into week 15 Monday Night Football, having a major change in our coaching staff. Like I said in the beginning, it can't be worse. I'm okay with the move itself.
Yeah.
But it's a horrifying look, man. And the other thing, people applauding Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie for the contingency plan like you and I were discussing pre-show. Maybe it's good on them, but do they really deserve credit for having a contingency plan? Shouldn't you have just hired the right guy for the job. If you were going to bring Sean Desai in, why was there any shadow of a doubt in the back of your mind that he might not be the guy, that we might need someone else in place? And that's why Matt Patricia was brought in. So I'll throw it to you. All in all, I'm kind of excited to see what could be a different looking defense. But at the same time, I don't think it bodes well for the Eagles, for the remainder of the season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think from an optics standpoint, it definitely doesn't look good. And you added on top of the Darius Slay that was kept under wraps, him getting surgery, and then all of a sudden Jalen is sick as well. And so like all of this stuff is happening this week, and it doesn't look great after, 2 bad losses against conference opponents, conference contenders. So definitely agree in that sense. It's just not what you want to see. I will say on the other side of the conversation is, you look at the Bills right now and they fired their offensive coordinator and the Bills are rolling. They were rolling. Sure. They've been rolling since they fired him. I mean, they even came into Philadelphia. They lost that game. They scored 34 points on the Philadelphia Eagles. The reason that I'm just not upset about it, I do agree. It's just bad optics. I'm just not upset because the Eagles have given up 109 points and 1,400 net yards in the last 3 games, which leads the NFL like by far. So I think, like you said at the beginning, it can't get worse. And I think by making a change, at least the coaching, whether it's Howie, Jeffrey Lurie, somebody in that building, they're looking at this and they're saying, this is not good enough. This is not going to get us where we need to get to. So I do think change in some degree was needed. No, I do agree. I think it's funny, like the wording, like Brett says, like quietly change the DC. I think when they say that, like they probably just did it last weekend, right after that loss,
and no one,
like, we're gonna go with
no
Matt
one
Patricia.
reported it until a week later.
Yeah, so like throughout practice week, they already knew what was going down. It's just released later in the week, but yeah, it is a mess though, man. To be very, very clear about this situation. It is not the best look at all when you were trying to compete
it
for
just
a Super
doesn't
Bowl.
feel like a good thing.
And there is a one-off example of this actually working out and winning a Super Bowl. Back in 2012, man, Cam Cameron, offensive coordinator for the Ravens, was fired about 12 weeks into the season, something like that. And Jim Caldwell was elevated from quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator, and they went on to win the Super Bowl against the 49ers. That game where the lights went out in the Super Bowl, Joe Flacco and Anquan Bolden. So there is a world where it can work out for the best, right? There is a world where it doesn't, right? We look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They fired their offensive coordinator. They haven't gotten any better. So there is a world where this doesn't turn into like a good thing, or this still looks the same. This defense's personnel is still not good enough. And I'll take it even further on your comment, regarding the contingency plan and, just the way the offseason was handled. And I think in hindsight, it's always 2020. But you look at TJ Edwards in Chicago right now. You look at Kaiser White. You look at CGJ. Now, he hasn't played all season. I get it. He got injured. He's been out for most of the year. Maybe he doesn't get injured on the Eagles, right? Who knows? I don't know. TJ Edwards, $6.5 million per year for the Chicago Bears. You couldn't just give that to stabilize the position. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I mean, like 2020 personnel. And that goes as far as the coaching as well, man. Just knowing what you want, not settling. And I think even when you look back, man, there was guys in-house like Denard Wilson that went over to the Baltimore Ravens. You could have promoted him in-house and kept the same identity, at least. Like last year, it wasn't great towards the end, right? In the Super Bowl, Jonathan Gannon got exposed. But hindsight 2020, man, Jonathan Gannon was providing a game plan that was far better than what is going on this year. Maybe it's personnel. But once again, that goes back to Howie Roseman. So does the defensive coordinator hiring. That goes back to Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni. I'm sure he had some input on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, contingency plans. I'm not sure what they were thinking looking back on it. But I guess we came into the season with high expectations anyways. So I guess they were seeing the same things we saw. You can't predict Nakobe Dean to just not be on the field.
No,
I guess,
absolutely
right?
not.
Like that's
Absolutely not.
one thing you can't predict.
I know we don't agree with him often, Emmanuel Acho, that is, but he did have a very interesting tweet this morning, talking about Matt Patricia and the defensive mind that he is, and he was a linebackers coach. So, what's the weakest link of this Eagles defense? Linebacker group. Yeah. So, having a guy in there that understands the position more, having a guy in there that can maybe bridge the gap between the front four and the back seven with those linebackers can definitely help. The issue right now is, what you kind of just questioned there, personnel versus play calling. And it's like, I mean, if anyone's going to get the personnel excuse, it's going to be Matt Patricia tonight. I mean, no Darius Slay. We know the linebackers are injured, right? Like, you have all of these issues. Kelly Ringo starting at corner tonight, and we're going to get into that game in a little bit. That's a problem. So now I'm sitting here just as I take a breath, and I'm like, can we even judge Matt Patricia tonight? Yeah. If it's poor, if Kelly Ringo's getting picked apart against DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett or JSN, can we judge Matt Patricia for this? So now it's like, now he's on a curve, and it's like, I don't know. And then this is the thing, right? Is it a panic move? Because here's where a little bit more of my frustration lies, Scotty. Again, could you be much worse than Sean Desai at points of the season the last 2 weeks, the Buffalo game? No, you cannot. So I'm not mad at the move itself. But why do we not make any adjustments on the offensive side of the ball? So Brett says 7 to 8 straight drives with a touchdown scored against you plays against your job security. 1,000%. Don't the Eagles have like 2 touchdowns in the last 8 quarters on offense?
Yeah.
Does that play against your job security? Because that's the frustrating thing, right? And my point about the panic move comment is this. Has Desai shown red flags all year long? Sure. And has he been awful the last 3 weeks? 1,000%. But I've also seen Sean Desai adjust. I've seen Sean Desai shut out Patrick Mahomes in the second half and hold him to 17 points while the offense was struggling. I've seen moments out of Sean Desai. You know who's shown more red flags and a lack of adjustments, a greater lack of adjustments? The offensive play calling, the offensive scheme, the offensive game plan. So we could sit here and maybe Matt Patricia is slightly better. Maybe he's marginally better than Sean Desai and the defense improves slightly. That's cool. If the offensive issues continue, we're not going anywhere regardless. And I think that's part of where my optics look kicks into gear even more. It's not just that it's a 10-3 demotion of one of your coordinators. It's, are we sure that coordinator is the bigger issue? I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying, are you sure that's the bigger issue moving forward?
I think what Brett said here in the comments, I think that's ultimately what it is. I think that, Nick Sirianni has input on the offense. Where are you going to go? You don't have a Matt Patricia version offensively in-house that could even give any type of consultation, right? But then also on the offensive end, I think the personnel is just much better. So maybe you just have faith that the personnel will come through. But then as I say that, it's like at the same time, that means failing with the better personnel is worse. Right. So I do get your point. I think they just don't have any options for Brian Johnson. And like Brett is saying here, I think that would just be really, really telling on Nick Sirianni if he had to go and like make a change there, because he's already obviously has a big hand in what the offense is doing. So you make a great point. It's like why the focus goes to the defense, but maybe it is just one of those things. Maybe it's Sean Desai wasn't feeling like he's getting a great view on the field. Maybe he wants to go up to the box and see things up there and consult from up there. Maybe that's the deal.
I don't know.
But it is odd. It is odd, to say the least, to have a guy kind of there all season, I guess, just breathing over your shoulder, because if this is a possibility, then that had to be discussed at some point when Matt Patricia was brought in. Like, if things
I
aren't
think
going well, we will lean on his shoulders if we need to down the stretch of the season. I'm not against it, man. I do get the messy part of it. There's part of me that kind of thinks like, damn, why didn't we just hire him from the jump? And just go with him as the defensive coordinator. He does have the resume defensively. I know the stuff, the debacle between him and Slay, but they obviously have figured that out. Slay discussed that earlier.
That's obviously not going to be a problem tonight.
Yeah, so like I wonder why not just go with the experienced option already. You already have Nick Sirianni as a head coach in his third year now. He's still a young tenured coach. He's not a veteran coach in this league to where he should get to pick, young disciples and start tutoring and mentoring them to become head coaches. He's not to that status yet. So I think when you look at it, why not bring in a Matt Patricia for the defense? And then why not bring in somebody more experienced for the offense? It's too late now for the offense, but just going back, hindsight 2020, man, there's a lot of things I would have done differently, even for this 10-3 team. And that's crazy to look back and say, man. That is crazy to look back and say.
Right. So is there any fear, to Marshawn Lynch's first comment, is there any fear that this is a panic move and they press the eject button too early? Like Sean, like they did just play the Bills, the Niners, and the Cowboys. I'm not excusing that at all. I'm not mad at it at all. I'm just saying they are 10-3. They are fighting for the 1 seed in the NFC. Is there any part of you that says, when Maddox comes back and Slay's okay and blah, 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 that Desai shouldn't have been demoted or relieved of his duties? I know it's tough to say yes to that now with how he's looking.
If it wasn't Matt Patricia with his resume, and I know his last few years as a head coach and even calling offensive plays for New England last year didn't go great at all, right? Like his last few years have been tumultuous, but he does have the resume as a defensive coordinator and as a linebackers coach of having and running a good unit. And I think when you get to this point in the season where you need experience, you're going against the Bills with Sean McDermott, that defensive mind. You're going against the Cowboys and, Dan Quinn up in the box in his defensive mind. And you're going against the 49ers and their defensive mind with Steve Wilkes. So I think you look around and it's like all of those guys have been calling defenses for multitude of years, right? They've been involved in great defenses for years on years. And I think the Eagles just maybe looked at that and they're like, well, what could we do with a little more experience in the building here? But either way, for us to have all this speculation and no clarity and, it just kind of popping up, right before the weekend, this is a mess. And us speculating, it just, it furthers the mess that they've opened this up for us. But ultimately, we're going to find out tonight, though. I mean, if he can do anything with this defense. And I think the first thing, the one thing you said earlier about Keely Ringo, I don't want to see him on DK Metcalf. That would be the first thing, right? Like you come out with a good game plan. Well, the game plan should be probably James Bradbury follow DK Metcalf. That's probably your only solution tonight to stop him. Now JSN, Tyler Lockett, they're going to be a nuisance as well. They got a great wide receiving core in Seattle, but I don't know. I'm interested. I'm not going to say I'm optimistic with Keely Ringo. I'm interested to see what he looks like as a full-time outside corner. The role, the position that he played within his college years at Georgia. I want to see him in that position and see him, maybe he gets beat the first time, but maybe he picks himself back up and he's able to play well. The only reason I give a little bit of the benefit of the doubt to Keely Ringo is the fact that A.J. Brown did vouch for him. He said that this dude has skill. He has talent. He's guarded me at practice, and I see it.
They also talked about Josh Jobe in training camp like he was the next coming, and Josh Jobe can't get on the field anymore.
Gotta have some faith, man. We gotta have some faith in this team.
I just can't get the vision of Keely Ringo's one play against the Dallas Cowboys last Sunday night out of my head. I can't.
Yeah, but you throw him out there for one play, he's a deer in headlights, man. It's like I do feel you. There's players that get in for that one play and they step up to the plate and make a play. He did not do that by any means.
No, 1,000.
You just gotta hope that he comes out with some effort, take advantage of this opportunity. He is a guy that is from the Seattle area as well, so this is kind of a homecoming. He's gonna have a ton of family.
I feel like I'm from the Seattle area. With
you better not get cooked in front of your fam.
Yeah. But I ask, and this is the problem I'm having, man.
Why not from the beginning?
But do you? Because because with no Darius Slay and whatever else is going on in this defense, man, what are you going to say if Kelly Ringo is just getting destroyed tonight? That's not on Matt Patricia. Yeah. But then now we're another week without figuring it out. And then you play Tommy DeVito and the Giants, and it's like, well, even if they hold them to 13,
and that's the thing.
Do we even figure it out? So, like, this is the problem optically with trying to do this at this point of the season. You got to remember, yes, probably no Geno Smith, so that changes things. This is a Seattle Seahawks offense who put up 30-plus on Dallas in Dallas a few weeks ago. Yeah. They can move the ball. They can score. So this isn't like, oh, yeah, you get to play the Seahawks. The schedule lightens up. Yeah, they're not as good or talented as the Cowboys or you know, the Bills or the Niners, but they're a good team. Now, if Drew Lock's playing tonight, we'll see. But if it's Geno, they're a good offense.
Let me ask you this. Did that Bills game against the Cowboys yesterday change your perception even a little bit of the Birds? Like, did it reflect back to the Birds for it? Because it did for me. Like I would be lying if it didn't give me a little bit more confidence coming out of that loss against Dallas.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you because it makes that Buffalo win
mean more
and look more impressive because at that time, you beat Buffalo and then you lost to San Fran. I remember people were saying, okay, well, you know, you beat the Chiefs, but then you beat a underachieving Bills team. And it's like, why are they underachieving at that point? They had fired the OC already. Yeah. The offense was humming, but it still wasn't enough to beat the Eagles. Now you look at what they do against Dallas. It does make you feel a little better about that. The defense
was rocking last night, man. And mind you, that could be Dallas on the road, right? They're probably just a completely different team on the road. I mean, the numbers show it, but yeah, I mean, that gave me a vote of confidence for the Eagles and what they're doing here.
This comment here is why I'm so frustrated within and after the Dallas loss when I told you the next 4 weeks are kind of moot to me. All this change now. Jalen's illness now, it makes it even more difficult to find out, Scotty, right? Because like all this is happening at such a bad time because if the defense does get torn up with no Slay and other injuries and what are you really going to say about the defensive coordinator change? Because can you judge him on the same scale as if they were healthy? Jalen, right? We're looking for a bounce back week, but if the dude's on his deathbed with this illness that no one knows what's going on and he looks poor and winded, can you judge him on the same scale? But at the same time, we need to see something. You need life from this team. And I find myself, man, I can't let it go. I know there's nowhere else to go. And I know it would be a lot more blowback on the head coach, which you're trying to avoid. But these comments about job security and being okay with the Desai move, and which I am okay with the Desai move, but it's like the offense is just skating free in this situation. It's like, I think they're the bigger issue. Not the talent, but the coaching on offense is the bigger issue for me, man. Now, whether that's Nick needing to take a step back from the offensive game plan and allowing Brian Johnson and the others to come up with it and then call it, or it's taking Brian Johnson off of play calling duties. But Scotty, I promise you, bro, if you get more of the same tonight, the Eagles are not winning this football game if you get more of the same offense.
I'll be honest, man. I think you and Marshawn Lynch are crazy. I'm listening to this. I'm reading the comments. I get it. It has looked horrible the last 2 weeks against Dallas and San Fran.
No.
Against Dallas and San Fran. Before Dallas and San Fran, the offense was in the top 5 in the league in points per game. Like, this is not like a bad off. The offensive personnel turned the ball over in Dallas territory 3 times last week. Sure. That makes a difference. Sure. Like, you can't turn the ball over like that in Dallas, in Jerry World, and expect to put up points. And that's not on Brian Johnson. Like, to feel that way going into the Seahawks, man, like the Seahawks, like we're down that bad that the Seahawks are going to come out and beat us 27-14.
No.
27-14. 2 scores.
I didn't say that.
Seahawks? That is insanity. And I think Jalen Hurts being sick, I think it could be a blessing in disguise. Run the fucking football.
I agree.
Like, I think it simplifies things.
That's my point.
Honestly.
But that's what I just said, though. If nothing changes and they keep showing the same red flags we've seen all year, I'm not even just talking about losing this game to Seattle, Scotty. Big picture, we both think that this team, we're looking at Super Bowl aspirations. If nothing changes in the offensive game plan or play calling over the next 4 weeks, and it starts tonight, this team cannot win a Super Bowl. That's where I'm at. And I get your point. Yes, Buffalo, the offense was rolling. Kansas City game, the offense was not rolling. At other points in the season, the offense was. Washington, they rolled against Washington. Miami was I think Miami was probably their best game.
I don't know, man. I think Hurts has been turning the ball over a lot this season. I do agree. There's moments where Brian Johnson has looked very poor at times, but I don't know. I think the last 2 weeks it's all clouded here. Like, this team does score points. Like, they do score points. Going into that San Fran game, they had 12 out of 12 red zone trips with touchdowns. Like, it started in San Fran where these hiccups started happening. San Fran, I would put more on Brian Johnson, and Dallas, I would put more on the players. I think it meets right in the middle, man. I think ultimately with the talent on offense, it's just more salvageable with what you have compared to the defense. You had to make a major change there because the personnel isn't good enough. You need to do something different.
I am fine with that. But my point, I wholeheartedly agree with your turnover point. When they lost to the Jets, what was the issue? Jalen turning the ball over, right? That's not on Brian Johnson. I get that. But again, I'm not just talking about Brian Johnson and play calling. I'm talking about the offensive problems as a whole, whether that's Nick Sirianni or Brian Johnson. When you watch these route concepts, these long developing, boring plays, no motion, teams are blitzing Jalen a higher percentage. You're not running the ball. That's what I'm talking. I'm not even talking about Brian Johnson not being able to call the plays, and when they're driving and he looks good and we fumble the ball, that's not on him. I'm talking about it as a whole. It's just Nick Sirianni involved.
And that's what, like, once we get to that point, I think now we're talking about Nick Sirianni.
Right. And
now we're talking about him being relieved of his job duties. And that's what, like, that's why the Eagles can't do that. Like, that's why.
Correct.
Because it is too deep. The offense is too deep within Sirianni's reins. Because, like, this issue with Johnson not running the football, that's not a Johnson issue, in my opinion. Like, that's Sirianni since he's been here. We've been begging to run the goddamn football at times. And he does it sometimes. He panders to the fans and starts running the football, and it works. But then you'll just see them go away from it. I don't know. I get where you're coming from, man. I really
By the way, I did not say they lose 27-14.
If we could go back, like I said, hindsight 2020, if we could go back to the start of the season, yes, I would much rather have an experienced play caller come in and be the offense coordinator than Brian Johnson. Like, I would much rather that happen. I just think we're so far gone now. We have to roll with mostly what we got. Like, you can't change both coordinators, right? Like, so you had to pick your poison. But once again, this speaks to the mess that we're in. We're sitting here, not really discussing the Seahawks game, but really discussing.
Well, we also have pregame live for that later as well.
The mess that is going on amongst the Eagles organization right now and all of the regrets. So I do feel y'all. I've gotten back to game day now, and I am starting to feel the positivity, and my confidence is starting to come back for this team. And maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's wrong for me to feel that way. I'm just starting to remember, like, that was the toughest stretch of the season. It's the toughest stretch of any team in the NFL season, right? We just saw the Cowboys enter their little mini gauntlet, and they lost the first game on the road.
And technically, man, that's the thing. Technically, that it's not over, right? This is the final game of it. Is it Cowboys-Niners-esque? No. But on the road, Seattle, again, it was going to be worse. If Geno plays, it means more. If Drew Lock doesn't, well, now we have to see. But he said, Scotty. Yeah, that's we're sick. We're sick.
We are
But
sick. I mean, it's a disease.
never wrong to feel alive, man. I agree. It's just this team. This team. I don't know.
They need to give us an answer tonight, man. We do need not a 40-pointer, but we need like 30 points on the board, run the fucking football, get some turnovers on defense, and get this train back moving, man.
Let me ask you this, okay?
Need it for the vibes.
Let me ask you this. We just talked about yeah, good thing I didn't take the spread on the Dolphins game. What's the name? We just talked about, the defensive coordinator change and then how much of an issue is the offensive coordinator. What means more to you tonight? Would it be Matt Patricia and this beat up defense, maybe winning a game 24-17 and the defense hold them to 17? Or would it mean more for you for the offense to score 28-31 plus and win, 31-27, something like that? Which side of the ball do you think could tell you more about this team moving forward?
Yeah, I think I would have to go with the defense, man. I think just showing up, especially if Drew Lock is starting tonight and no Geno Smith, you need to go out here and dominate this team. Like, you need to get pressure on Drew Lock, force some turnovers, and maybe even get some points from your defensive side of the ball, right? Like, I want to see some playmaking from the defense tonight. I want to see Matt Patricia put these guys in positions to make plays. So I would say the defense ultimately, just to give me a vote of confidence going forward. Like, we've watched our defense get torched by Sam Howell. So, like, I don't need to, see Drew Lock come out and do this tonight, or we will realize we're in the same boat that we were in before, if
Absolutely.
not worse. So, yeah, I would love like Darius said, a master class from
not to be an ass. The defense has scored more recently than our offense.
Fair enough. Yeah, they did score last week.
Man.
The only touchdown last week.
Listen.
Oh.
Yeah, listen, man. A 2-0 safety win. I'll take whatever you get. I think this is the thing, right? But this starts. Obviously, it could start the defense. If Seattle gets the ball, marches down, goes up 7-0, it starts with the defense. But to me, these slow starts start on offense, man. When you drive down the field and kick 2 field goals against San Fran and it's only 6-0. When you come out and you can't establish anything and you're scoreless in the first half against Dallas, like, those are and the turnovers as well are all reasons for slow starts from the Eagles. I think that's the biggest thing for them, man. I mean, the last 2 weeks, obviously the competition has stiffened compared to what you were doing before, Scotty. But I really believe it was a culmination of just the same issues and time catching up with this team, continuing to make the same mistakes. You can only be trailing by double digits at halftime so many weeks in a row before you start to lose games. And that's what you got the last 2 weeks. You cannot be down 14-3 in this game tonight. You cannot be down 10, 12 points at halftime tonight, because you're just going to continue the same trend. Now, again, what side of the ball is at fault for that tonight? We'll have, that's TBD if they were to get down, but
the offense can help the defense.
Needs a quick start, man.
Yeah, the offense can help the defense, and that's what we saw the last 2 weeks as well, is that the offense couldn't stay on the field, so the defense tired out. So to your point, it all balances itself out with both sides. The offense has to stay on the field. That'll keep the defense rested on the road, and they'll be able to perform better when they are on the field. It's a very simple equation, but the Eagles just haven't been able to take advantage of it. You mentioned San Fran, the first 2 drives you settle for field goals, boom, the game's over. Boom. Like it was that simple in that game. It was over. And I knew it at that time. Once we settled for that second field goal, that game was over. The Cowboys, you come out, you turn the ball over in Cowboys territory. Your defense back on the field quick after the Cowboys already scored. So, yeah, you have to go out here and not only try not to beat yourselves. Like, that's the biggest thing for me, man. Stop beating yourselves up in these games and taking yourself out of them. But, yeah, we got to get back. I was about to say back to the standard. I won't even say that. But we got to get back to playing some winning football, man. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah, Matt Patricia, man, get me off the field on third downs.
Yeah.
Please. Get me off the field on third downs.
Try something exotic, dude. Like, try something. something. Try something different. Try something exotic, something confusing for the offense. Do something different than what we were seeing from this team. That is what I'm hoping the most from this change.
What do you think on this one for tonight? Obviously, we know that he's questionable with the illness. I'm going to assume personally that Jalen Hurts plays tonight. I think an illness, as long as this dude is not like severely dehydrated and borderline hospitalized or whatever, I think Jalen Hurts is playing tonight. He'll play through it. I think a lot of people would, especially this dude with his motor. But once you step onto that field, we say this all the time with Joel Embiid, right? If he's not able to play, he shouldn't be playing, because then I don't want to hear the excuses. I do not want to hear anything once number one steps between those white lines tonight about his illness, Scotty. Now, by all means, if he balls out, I'll celebrate the flu game with you. If he But if he struggles, if he turns the ball over, if he's missing reads, I don't want to hear about the sickness. Once you step on that field, that's it. It's game time. And to Marshawn Lynch's point, you cannot be the reason they lose tonight, or get down early. You fumble, down 7-0, drive right down the field inside the 35 at Dallas. Starts things off with a fumble. Can't happen.
Yeah.
Cannot happen.
I need them to not let Hurts be the reason that we lose. Run the football, man. Like, I'll say it, and I'll say it all during the pregame show as well. Run the goddamn football. I just watched the Bills do it yesterday with James Cook, and it made me fucking sick that I have not been watching it with the Eagles.
And do you know what Seattle offensively is not good at? Stopping the run.
Yeah.
It's
very
crazy,
simple, man. Put the ball in DeAndre Swift's hands. Quick outlet passes to DeAndre Swift, right? Wheel routes to DeAndre Swift. Make it simple. Get the ball into your playmaker's hands early. Take the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands. Don't force him to be MVP level tonight, right? If he's up for it, if he's balling out, then so be it. But like, we don't need to force it. That's what it feels like.
You know what that means? You know what that means? On the first drive, DeAndre Swift should not have 1 carry, and Jalen Hurts has 3 carries.
Exactly. But
turn around and give the goddamn ball to your playmaker out of the backfield. Simple. No questions, no reading the linebacker, no delayed handoff and pushing the back to go. No. Turn around, follow your blockers, find a gap, bounce it outside. Whatever he's got to do to make a play, he will do to make the play, Scotty. Simplify it. Everything does not have to be a goddamn read option between the quarterback and the running back. By the way, do you know what has happened on all of the fumbled handoffs this year? A read option. Those don't happen if Jalen's not pulling, thinking about it. The running back doesn't know when. No. Call a run play. That's it. I'm tired of it, bro. I'm tired of the messiness.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Honestly, they could simplify the game plan, just run the ball 3 times a series of a set of downs, and win this game. Just let Seattle beat themselves. That's where I'm at. Like, it's very simple when you have a team this talented, and I think we've just been kind of overthinking it all season at certain points. So just run the football with DeAndre Swift. It's very clear. You see teams do it week to week. Josh Allen, I'm not even sure he had over 100 passing yards yesterday.
I don't think he did. And guess what, Scotty? When James Cook was given the ball, was it a read option, or did they just turn around and run it down your throat? By the way, Dallas knew it was coming. The Buffalo Bills had about a 14-play drive that resulted in points. 13 of the 14 were running plays. They knew it was coming. There was no trickery, no second guessing, no read option, no RPO. No. They turned around, gave the ball to that dude behind their offensive line, and ran it down the defense's throat. You do that tonight.
Yeah.
I don't need to see the QB draws inside your own 30-yard line, man. You want to run a QB draw when they're bringing pressure inside their 10-yard line? By all means, go for it. On your own side of the field, I watch Jalen slide not to take a hit behind the line of scrimmage. I don't want to see the messiness anymore, man. It's time to start to clean these things up and get us right for the postseason. That will buy me all the way back in. I'm not out on this team by any stretch. But you want to talk about has my confidence in them getting to a Super Bowl taken a hit? Severely. Do the little things to clean up the shit starting tonight, and that will make me much more of a believer heading into the postseason. I can't continue to see the same red flags in the last 4 weeks. I can't do it.
Yeah, I agree. You need to hope that this defensive coordinator change helps that defense, man. And hopefully the offense can get it together. I do think they will, man. I think, one, the competition level has dropped significantly for my money to the Seahawks defense specifically. You need to take advantage and get back on track against this team. But I'm telling you that it's not only the Cowboys game, it's just the way this season has gone holistically. I think the Eagles get a lot of attention for their losses, and rightfully so. They were 2 in a row against 2 NFC foes. Like, I get it. But every single team in the NFL has lost games, one that they're not supposed to. They've gotten blown out by teams that they're not supposed to.
Look at Dallas.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel it. Like, it's been disappointing the last 2 weeks, but there's no reason that they can't start to get it together.
No, absolutely not.
Play is out. But Avonte Maddox practice window opens,
absolutely
right?
not.
Like, so
and you know how, like, on Turf Talk, when we're talking about, the Bengals and the Colts and the Bills still being in it, but that also has to do with, the injuries and the lack of from other teams like the Chiefs and all. It's the same thing over here, right? We for a week, we took an ass whooping from Dallas. We held we took it like a man on the show. Yeah. We sat here. We put Dallas ahead of them on the power rankings. Dallas will not be ahead of the Eagles on my power rankings after this week, as long as the Eagles take care of business tonight. It's that simple. But before we move on to the Sixers, because I did see this comment from Marshawn Lynch. Before we move on here in a couple minutes, we do have pregame live for everyone in here tonight, 6 p.m. Eagles Seahawks DSM pregame live right here on this YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. But the offense is the bigger thing for me tonight. I agree with you. I cannot see the defense get torched, especially if it's Drew Lock. But it is the first week of the new coordinator. There is no Darius Slay. And offensively, you look at common opponents with Dallas and the Niners and Seattle. Dallas scored at will against the Seahawks defense. And the Niners, both times they played, scored at will against the Seahawks defense.
Yeah.
I need to see the Eagles maybe not score at will, but put up points against the Seahawks defense. Because, again, that's going to be another red flag. Yeah. It's going to be
help the defense.
It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. First time, I think, it is weird, this little tug of war. It's the first time here on the show we kind of really disagree about what side of the ball or what side is the issue, man. But I don't know.
I think it's like I have moved past the Dallas game, and I think that you and other people just haven't. And I think it's a fair way to be, honestly. I think there's no right or wrong side.
I will move past it.
I'm not going to be, if we go and blow out the Seahawks tonight, I'm not going to come back on the show on Wednesday and be like, I told you.
No. But I will be over the Dallas loss.
Like, we want
I will be moved on from Dallas once that clock hits 14:59 tonight.
Yeah.
Once that first second ticks off the clock, once the ball's kicked off, I'll be on to this game. But
unless they turn the ball over 3 times and look bad, then
I'll be going back to the other weeks and the same issues and yada yada yada.
And then you're right and I'm wrong, right? But
this is part of the reason I'm geared up about this offense, right? And you are correct in the fact that I
do feel this,
when you do turn the ball over, it is on the players. When you miss blocks, it is on the players. But it's this too, man. And whether it's coaching not doing it and making life easier for them, or it's the players just not doing what they're supposed to. Hey, AJ, are we going to find out tonight? Are we going to see tonight? Please show me tonight. Smitty, hold on to the ball tonight, man. When it hits your hands, bring it in. Jalen, protect the ball. You have all these weapons, all these playmakers. Scotty, there's more talent on the offensive side of the ball this year than last year. That's the difference. Defense, we thought we replaced a lot of the talent. Maybe we didn't. Offense, there's more. There's DeAndre Swift. Yeah. There's Julio Jones. There's Olamide Zaccheaus. And they do nothing with it.
Use them at all. It's wild.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So
And
show
Sirianni came out last week.
me
He said he doesn't
tonight.
have a problem with all the targets going to AJ Goddard and Smitty.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it when the targets actually accomplish something. When all the targets go to those three and you don't score a single effing touchdown, what fucking good did it do that you got those three the ball so often? I need results on that side of the ball. Anyway, like I said, we will be back tonight, 6 p.m. on this YouTube channel. DSM pregame live, breaking down this Eagles-Seahawks game in more detail, keys to victory, standout stars, and all of that good stuff. We'll see how my attitude has changed in the next 7 hours, 6 hours. With that said, man, other team in Philly staying red hot. That is our 76ers and Joel Embiid going 2-0 over what felt like a long weekend, man. Obviously against the Hornets and the Pistons. And I've seen a lot of people, whether they're trolling, whether they're just not accustomed to the fact that in the NBA you play everybody, right?
Scheduled police are out.
You guys do know that, right? The Sixers are at an easy part of their schedule. Yes, they played the Wizards twice and the Pistons twice and the Hornets and the Hawks over the last week and a half. But you guys do remember when they had to play the Cavs, Timberwolves, Thunder, Lakers, Pelicans, Celtics all in a row, right? You do remember when they played the Pacers and the Celtics on a back-to-back. You do remember when they played the Suns and the Celtics and the Bucks in the first week and a half of the season. You do remember that, right? So it's not the Sixers' fault that they're just handling business. And Scotty, it brings me to my first point, and I'm so happy. It feels like every show we continue this positivity train with the 76ers. This team is simply doing what they're supposed to against these teams. Over the last 4 wins, the Sixers have a point differential of 159. Timeout. 159. They just beat the Charlotte Hornets by more than 50. 50 on Saturday night. Dude, you don't see this last year. You don't see this the year before. You don't see this ever. It's a testament to how Nick Nurse has this team playing. It's a testament that Joel Embiid is taking every game seriously. And it's a testament to the depth and all the new role pieces and leadership you have in vets like Pat Beverly, like a Marcus Morris, like a Rocco that keep your head on straight and just chug down the line and not take any game for granted or take any night off, man. That's what I'm loving about this team. We normally in the past, do you want to give Joel the night off here? Do you want to give him the night off there? He doesn't need it because he hasn't played in like 7 straight fourth quarters, it feels like. So they're all getting rest. The entire team's getting playing time. This team's fun, man. I don't give a damn who's on the schedule right now in front of them. They're doing what they're supposed to, and they're beating the dog shit out of these teams. Let me ask you this, Scotty. If their schedule is just so easy, and why do they get to play the Wizards twice in the last couple of weeks? Can I ask you how the Pacers just lost by double digits against this Washington Wizards team? Can I ask you how the Phoenix Suns at home almost lost to this Washington Wizards team, was losing for a majority of 3 quarters? The Sixers are doing something different. They're taking care of their business, man.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. They're playing some really good basketball together. The vibes are the biggest part of it. They're all having fun, and it's turning into huge.
You're a big vibes guy. I knew you'd appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all about the vibes and the connectivity of the team. The the comfortability within a team to get along and play with each other, and it just feels like Embiid is happy for other guys a lot more this season as well. I think he's growing as a leader. Obviously, he's growing as a player. His game, his skill set is just keeps expanding and getting better. Yeah, Marshawn Lynch. I was sitting there thinking that the whole time Dylan was talking. I was like, I was thinking about the Eagles, and I was like, man, I feel like we were here with the Eagles probably like 3 weeks ago.
Time out.
Very quickly.
Time out. The Sixers have beaten good teams already this year. That's a difference between the Cowboys and the Sixers. They've already statted up their resume. I want to hear it. You're not going to
No,
kill my
they are.
content
They're
train on the
taking
field.
care of business, man. And the tests will come. You just wait for them. They'll be there. And
But I
that's
think
why
it's just
I just think it's funny.
ridiculous.
It's like you go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's just like a ridiculous conversation. Like, it's not the NFL schedule. You don't play once a week. You play everybody.
The
And we're
schedule,
sitting here
please.
and, like, we don't even have to justify that the test will come. We've already had the test.
Yeah.
Some they handled, some they didn't handle. They were healthy. They weren't fully 100%. And you're going to get them moving forward. I think it's ridiculous that there's even this conversation out there amongst NBA fans about who they're playing right now.
It's just where we are in the world, man. That's the trolling that goes on online. But I completely agree. The team does look a lot different in the stance that they're just doing what they're supposed to against bad teams and blowing them out. Like, to the opposite end of that Cowboys conversation is that the Eagles were not blowing out bad teams that they're supposed to, right? So I am with you there. The positive vibes are great. I just want to see Embiid continue to grow with the team, stay healthy, and guys figure out the roles. You're starting to see guys like Marcus Morris really start to shoot the ball a lot better.
Yeah,
Pat Bev continuing to expand his role. Rocco, they're figuring out these lineups and different things like that. But it is interesting, I guess maybe playing these bad teams, it doesn't allow you to figure out your lineup more. Like, you need closer games just to see what your lineups are going to be like at the end. But
sure,
there's a balance to it altogether. It's good to get these guys running
because it is matchup based, right? Like, Marcus Morris is hitting 4 threes in one game and doing this and that. But can he keep up with the forwards in Boston?
Right.
And can he do those things? So
right.
I definitely feel you, from that standpoint. But no, it's just refreshing to see them doing what they're doing, man. I know that sounds
I agree.
like lazy and corny. Oh, they beat up on the Hornets. This 51 points, bro.
Yeah,
53
it's
points.
not
Excuse
about.
me.
It's not about who they're playing. To your point, it's not about it. It's about the point differential. It's about how they're beating the teams they're playing. And to your point, it is impressive. I'm trolling when I talk about the Eagles and comparing them like that. It's a troll, man.
Scotty.
This team is balling out right now, and you look across the league and you look in the standings, man. They're at the top of a lot of statistics, especially like net rating. You talked about the point differential. They lead the Eastern Conference in that. So let me just check here. I want to see if they lead.
I'm pretty sure they are now the
NBA.
number one offense in the NBA.
Yeah. So that speaks to something. They've won 6 in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Where do they rank offensively? So they're third in points per game in the Eastern Conference, behind Milwaukee and Indiana. So they're ahead of Boston there. And they're third defensively, opponents' points per game in the Eastern Conference, behind Boston and Orlando there. So top 3 offense, top 3 defense. That's the way they're playing right now.
Pretty good, right?
And you can't knock it down. Like, to your point, when you see like a Kawhi Leonard, right? Like that Kawhi Leonard, 28 points and this and that. They list off the opponents like of who he played. And
correct.
Mind you, I know they, to be honest, I do know the opponents. They played some pretty sturdy opponents in that span. But it's just funny. You go to a Jokic graphic with all the stats, and it doesn't list off his last 10 opponents that he's playing against, where he dropped a 50-point triple-double against the, whoever, whatever. Like, it's just funny how Embiid gets, like, picked on. Like, I don't know what it is. Like,
I'm glad you said that, because I was just going to bring him up.
By like other teams, and you'll have like a random, like, for example, I saw Luka Doncic's stand page talking about Joel Embiid's opponents because they're in a race. He's in a race with Luka Doncic for the MVP. Like, we don't even care about the MVP. It's fun. It'll be fun if he wins 2 in a row. Like, that's awesome. It's a good talking point for us, right? But like, I'm not sitting here during the regular season like, we got to get this second MVP. No, I'm worried about the playoffs. And so when I see a Dallas fan trolling Joel Embiid, it's just like, what for? Like, why?
Absolutely.
Like, it's weird.
And here's the thing, right? Embiid's life is 100 times more difficult than a guy like Luka, like Jokic. Because does Embiid have the ball in his hands a lot? Yeah. But Embiid's not the point guard. Embiid's not a guard. Embiid's not a guy that's going to break you down off the dribble at the top of the key across half court and get to the bucket. Whatever. He's not like that. And regardless of opponents and defenses and so on and so forth, every single night he steps on the floor, even though he's not the guy that constantly is bringing the ball across half court and the ball starts with him.
Yeah.
He is the focal point of every opponent's game plan.
Absolutely.
And he's still doing whatever he wants. That's crazy to me. Is Kawhi Leonard the focal point of anyone's game plan right now? He's a part of it. But are you going into a game and saying we're trying to take away Kawhi Leonard? With the Clippers?
Probably can't. Yeah, you probably can't. I mean, Paul George is out there on the court. You got James Harden. You got all these other pieces. I mean,
when it comes to like Luka, right? Because you mentioned the stand page. Okay, yeah, Luka's the focal point. You try to take him away. Luka's the point guard. Luka inbound ball. He brings the ball up 94 feet. It's easier for him to do what he can do on offense, being a guard. Our guy is a 7-foot center that just does unnatural things in the middle of a crowd of defenders. Scotty, I know you were not a huge fan of Giannis's 64-point performance last week or earlier in the week against the Pacers when he threw his hissy fit about the ball. And remind me again, what did he go? 24 of 32 from the free throw line, right?
Yeah.
And no one talks about that, though. Do you find that interesting? Well, that was against the Pacers, who, by the way, better team, 1,000%. Do the Pacers play a lick of defense?
No.
No, it's why their betting odds for totals in the games are 260.5 and 258.5. They can score with anybody. They can't stop anybody. Are the Hornets good on defense? Absolutely not. Joel Embiid went 18 of 23 from the floor, bro. He only went 6 for 6 from the line. 18 of 23 on a 42-point night in 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me correct, I was drinking over the weekend, so maybe I'm a little foggy here. Pretty sure I saw something that said he now has more points than minutes, or no, what was it? He's averaging more points than minutes played this year. What?
Yeah.
What? That's unfucking believable, dude. Or he scored more points than whatever the number was. That's what Embiid has done, and it's the first time he just broke a Wilt Chamberlain record or tied a Wilt Chamberlain record. It's the first time in his whatever. The dude is unbelievable, Scotty. And my point about this little rant was, fuck the schedule. I know you and I love it more when he does it against Boston. When he does things like this, it's why we get frustrated when he only scores 20 versus Boston. I need to see it then too. But this starts with him, man. You want to talk about this unit doing what they're supposed to and keeping their head on straight? It's a maturity step we hadn't yet seen in Joel Embiid, in my opinion, if that makes sense. Yeah. Joel Embiid wouldn't be playing every night like he is right now in the past. He would have sat out against Boston or Charlotte or whatever. Yeah. He wouldn't have gone so hard to score 42 and 15 in 30 minutes before. Maybe he was, shrugging his shoulders at one point. It starts with him, bro. And that's the biggest difference maker for me.
Yeah. And I think just to your point, the other side of that convo is when we get to the Timberwolves this Wednesday, right, in Philadelphia. And then when we get to the Heat on Christmas
night
in Miami, you get to the Magic in Orlando 2 days after Christmas. These are the games where you can't have Embiid come out and have 10 turnovers and, be a negative on the floor. And I'm not saying that that's what I'm expecting. I'm just saying to that point, right? Yeah. If he does not show up against those teams now, that conversation is going to be brought back into a point, right? And it's going to be a point made by those trolls. So he does need to, step up in those bigger moments. But to your point, he's just playing who's in front of him, and he's making the most of it, right? He's making it as easy as possible for not only himself, but for his teammates. And the efficiency The energy is really the difference for me. The energy he's playing with, once again, looks happy, playing full of energy, going after the boards, swatting after every shot attempt from the other team, controlling the paint. I mean, it just looks like really Nick Nurse has gotten, Nick Nurse clearly has the best player that he's ever had in his tenure as a head coach. And mind you, he won an NBA championship. He may be the guy that officially can unlock Embiid and get him to that Kawhi level that we saw, just a few years ago.
That robotic level. Because
I don't know about that. I don't think anybody.
I'm going to say right now that mid range is robotic.
I feel you on that. I get what you're saying. The robotic. I just mean from like an emotional standpoint.
I got you.
Yeah. He's never going to be like that. Embiid wears his emotions on his sleeve, but I do. It's like the little things, right? Like last game you saw Miles Bridges getting in Pat Bev's face, and you see Embiid just go over to Miles Bridges, like, dude, like you're down like 50 points. Like go sit down.
Love the little
like that synergy. That synergy.
Pat Bev and Joel Embiid have so quickly. Like you see Pat Bev messing around with them with the chop, with the DX chop at the N1s, and Joel trying to get him to do it. And
I saw Kelly Oubre made a 3 in the fourth quarter, which shout out to Kelly Oubre. I laid those points the other night against the Hornets. Yeah, me
lucky bitch. You lucky bitch. I had over 11.5 the other night, and he scored 11.
He hit the 12 on the dot against the Hornets, bro. And he hit like this late 3. He attempted like 4 in the fourth quarter when they're already up by 40. I was just waiting for him to be taken off the court. And then he hits the final one before he gets taken out. But the point of the story, though, I see Embiid because Kelly Oubre does that, like, whatever that is, like that.
Kiss.
Yeah, blows like a kiss or whatever to the crowd off the 3-point make. And I saw Embiid, talking with Bev on the bench, and he's like, "What is that?" Like, and so he was trying to do it. It just shows you these guys are interested in one another. You see the way Marcus Morris is talking, right? He's talking like, obviously, this is a twilight of his career because after this season, after maybe next season, he's probably done. But he's back in Philadelphia. He's feeling the vibes. He's like loving life. And I think that he is from Philadelphia, but I think that type of feeling is going across this team. You have Pat Bev, out exploring the city in Kensington and getting connected that way. So it's like, I just
there was a tweet out there that was like, what athlete played in the wrong city? And Pat Bev was like,
do you feel like, I know it's hard, and this is where that level of competition does come in, but like, has it ever felt like this team, as an entire team, has it ever felt like this much chemistry has been a part of the Sixers? Like, does this not feel different? Like, and I say that because like Batum, Covington, and Marcus Morris out in LA, they weren't really being used correctly there.
No.
So, like, I just think they come to this team and they're happy being on this team.
Wow.
It's like, wow, we're getting used properly here. I'm Nick Batum. I am a glue guy, and I should be part of the offense and a main part of your defense. Like,
let me ask you this, man. With how impressive they've been,
all-time high.
If you could undo the trade and get Terrence Mann and Norman Powell instead of what we got, are you keeping what we got, or are you making that trade? Because I'm not going to lie to you. Norman Powell's a bucket getter. Like, I would still love to have Norman Powell.
Powell is that guy that makes you think. But Terrence Mann,
Scotty, whatever the fuck we were like sitting here saying, I need to. Oh, dude, the kid doesn't want to put the ball up.
Yeah.
I've watched multiple Clippers games, and him with the starters, with the bench unit, it doesn't matter. He catches the ball in the corner wide open. He gets the ball in the paint wide open, and he will not shoot it.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what we would do here in Philly if he was so passive and didn't want to do anything offensively?
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked, honestly. Looking back when I thought maybe it'd be a good pairing with Maxey, like a glue,
Agreed.
Glue guy, but wouldn't even be better than DeAnthony Melton. Quite honestly, would not be. So Norman Powell, he makes that question interesting, but to Brett's point, Norman Powell jams up. Well, he used jam in a different stance, but Norman Powell jams up your salary cap for the offseason. So, yeah, I can't even say that I would want Norman Powell because I would rather go into the offseason with an option of do I bring Batum back on, like a smaller contract? Can I bring Rocco back on a smaller contract, right? Like those are the things that I would look at. Even Marcus Morris at this point, the way he's talking, bro, he would come back on the minimum. I think he would come back to the Sixers, maybe not the minimum, but a very much lower cap hit. Just to stay in his hometown and be comfortable.
Not just that, especially if there is a role here for him.
If
he keeps this 12 to 15 minute role that he has going right now, sometimes like 16 minutes,
being efficient.
Yeah, I think he would do it for the minimum.
Some of those mid-range jump shots from Marcus Morris weirdly look like Embiid to me. Like, I don't know, they kind of operate in the same area there. That just an interesting tidbit, but it's very similar.
Well, was it Pat Bev or something? Weren't they just joking that Embiid or Maxey in his presser? Maxey was like joking that Embiid stole Marcus Morris's hezzy or to his left.
Yeah, you're right. I did see that actually. Now that you say it, I do remember seeing that. But once again, just a funny team. They keep praising one another, right? Like Marcus Morris calls Embiid the best player he's ever played with. You hear Patrick Beverley on his podcast praising his head coach, praising Embiid, praising Maxey. Like the good vibes are going around. I will say the test, not necessarily the playoff level test, but a true test of camaraderie will come, on a losing streak, right? Maybe it's a 2-3 game losing streak. Are they able to keep it together? I do think they have the leaders in house that's just not going to be a problem. They'll right the ship, and maybe we don't even see a 3-game losing streak with this group. Like that's how good and how much leadership I think they have in house, and that's how good I think Nick Nurse is too.
Scotty, it's getting to a point where you're not even really – we haven't even gotten a fair 2-game losing streak on this record.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a back-to-back of a in-season tournament game with the Pacers followed by your second round with the Celtics in the first month of the season.
Yeah.
And then you have another one where Embiid didn't play and they were sick and you were on – like you weren't 100%. Batum missed time. Like they don't have – even a 2-game losing streak of this roster 100% healthy, not on a back-to-back.
They played so like to your point, that last one, they played the Cavs in an overtime play-in tournament or in-season tournament game the night before they go to Minnesota and play the Timberwolves, the number 1 team in the Western Conference. So to your point, once again, a back-to-back with the Cavs in an in-season tournament.
And no Joel against Minnesota.
Tomorrow, no Joel against Minnesota, and we're going to Minnesota to take on the number 1 team. Then they go to Oklahoma City and beat Oklahoma City Thunder, who are number 2 or number 3 in the West right now. So to your point, they got some good wins. They beat the Lakers, the in-season tournament champions. They dogged them out.
The shit out Lakers. Beat the Suns earlier this year. They've already beaten the Celtics. First game, no Harden, no trade, no nothing, blah, blah, blah. Lost to the Bucks in Milwaukee by 1 point and should have probably won that game, right? So it's I don't know. I cannot say enough about this team. I promised myself stuff like this wouldn't matter as much this year because of the letdown and I just get me there.
It's so fun though. It's hard not to get excited about it. Like
because that's sports fan, man.
Just the numbers.
Yeah.
It's not just the Harden and Embiid pairing. It's not just Maxey and Embiid pairing. It's like all the other things as well. It's like Kelly Oubre is that scoring.
And not to mention, what's the point? I know we try to tell ourselves that. What's the point of being a fan and a diehard fan at that and watching every night if you're not going to care it's not possible. Exactly. It's not feasible to watch a team almost 82 nights a year until the postseason and not care about success and losses. Anybody that tells you that isn't, I don't know. I'm being honest. I don't know if you can call yourself a fan if you literally internally do not give a damn until the postseason now. I don't think it's emotionally possible to sit back and disperse yourself and
just cut them off.
It's not possible.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's like no, I won't even make that comparison. It was a bad one, but No, I completely agree, man. At the end of the day, just take it for what it is. It's like what we talked about the other day with Embiid and just appreciating, who he is and like the player, the level that he plays at. But it also goes for the team as well when they're playing this well, and just having fun. Once again, just take it for what it is. Enjoy it, man. Like you have like the Harden pairing, right? That was cool. Like the productivity was cool, but they weren't having as much fun as a team with that type of play. Doc Rivers was not fun to watch as a coach in his scheme and his game planning, like, or lack thereof. That was not fun. So I think just appreciating, like, we actually have a good synergy in the organization. Look, Daryl Morey was just extended to match Nick Nurse's contract. And that also kind of lines up with Embiid's max contract as well. So, like, you have everything connected from the top down. And I like what the Sixers have done since acquiring Daryl Morey specifically.
I honestly, and not to mention, we talk roster construction a lot with this team and how it's different, right? It's more built on depth behind the main star. And and you talked about, maybe it's not like the Harden thing. And when you had Jimmy and Ben and blah, 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 it's like, I honestly think unless you have unless you have a big three, right? Like Boston's the closest thing I can think of for it. Phoenix, but they haven't even been healthy to showcase it yet. Yeah. Unless you have a big three or two of like the top 10 players in the association, having two stars isn't the way you're going to win a title anymore, man. Like having a guy that's top 5 and then having another guy that's like a star by name, but he's like top 16, top 15. I don't think that's the way to go when you're not built correctly anywhere else. So unless you have like a big three or you have two of the top 8 players in the world, I don't think that's going to equate to anything. And even then, it might not equate to anything. Yeah. I think when you watch the Miami Heat the last couple of years make their runs, you watch the Denver Nuggets win a chip with their run. When you watch the Celtics go toe-to-toe a couple years ago with Golden State, like, you had the star in Tatum. Jaylen Brown wasn't a star then, right? That was, 3 years ago? Jaylen Brown wasn't the max guy he is, and whether you think he's a max guy or not. And then they were built with depth and role pieces and continuity. And that's kind of the way the Sixers team's built right now. You don't need the star name in Harden. You don't need whatever. It's
following that that Nuggets kind of template there, man. Same, even when you look at the Lakers, there's no real third star there. It's role players. Like Austin Reeves is a glorified role player. So like you just look across the league, each team has their own, make out of what they could put together. And I think when you look at the Sixers specifically, they've tried the other way. Hasn't worked for their team. So it can work, right? It can work for the Warriors. It can work for other teams, but it didn't work for the Sixers, so we got to try something different. Let's try a different model, and I appreciate them doing that for us.
Absolutely. Like, I think before we wrap up, and, man, we're going to talk about it tonight. I hope so. I absolutely hope so. I think they will, but, again, we'll break it down later. Like, you look at the team we traded Harden to, right, and they have all this – they have these star names, but let me ask you a question. Are any of Harden, PG, Kawhi, none of them are top 5? Is one of them top 10 still? Is Kawhi
for my money, Kawhi Leonard is definitely still 10. Top 10 for my when he plays, he is top 10 in my opinion.
Right. But then so you have a top 10 guy, and then you have the names. Paul George, is he top 15, top 13, whatever? Harden, he has the name, but is James Harden top 15? You know what I mean? Like, unless you have
Harden, maybe top 35, top 40.
Right,
I don't
exactly.
know.
But the name you attribute to star level, right? But when it comes down to it, unless you have like number 3 and number 7, and even then you need help around them.
And to be fair, like to your point, I think when you look at the Clippers, like Kawhi and PG is different from Embiid and Maxey, right? Like Kawhi and PG around Harden is 2 athletic 3-and-D wings that can also score the rocket wheel. So, like, I think ultimately when you look at both sides, the Clippers got maybe what they needed out of it. We'll see. Obviously, in our minds, Harden's going to flop in the playoffs, and that's what he does.
They're playing well. They're playing very, very well right now.
Really good right now.
Yeah, they lost
I don't
what? The
think they're
first
complaining, but
right.
I would
I think they
definitely
lost what?
I
The
like
first
what we did
5
too.
games once Harden was traded there, and it was
Yeah.
kind of this,
Now
like,
they've won 7
funny
straight.
running joke, right? But, yeah, now they've won a bunch in a row. They beat a bunch of good teams, right? Like, well,
Yeah. Kings, Warriors.
I
Warriors
mean,
aren't good though.
yeah, that's the issue, right? That's the issue.
Nuggets,
Like,
they did
you
beat the
beat the
Nuggets.
Nuggets, but you lost to the Nuggets without Jokic at
Yeah.
home, like, the week prior, so I mean, listen, the fact that they're 2-0 against the Kings, they're what? They're 2-1 against the Warriors, they're 1-1 against the Nuggets. They've got good wins over the stretch.
Yeah, to be
But
fair. Yeah. We'll see how that works out though, right? That's Kawhi. He's going on a nice little run right now. We'll see how it plays out. Obviously,
Mhm.
hindsight's always 2020. We'll figure it out. But for my money, the Sixers right now, I like what they're doing. I like where they're at. I would say I love where they're at. I think they have options as well. I think that's the best part is that, yeah, we love these players that we brought in. There's still
But we
options
can get
out there to
better.
make the team even better. So, at the end of the day, when you got, 15 guys playing against, the Hornets on Saturday, that's fun. It's great. You don't need 15 guys, right? Like you 11, 12 guys maybe. That's good. 15? No. Well, let's bring in one to take the place and we'll have, 12 guys or 11 guys that we can rotate through this
Correct,
lineup.
because
That's what
right
I'm looking
now,
forward to.
you're watching playing time because of blowouts. Go to Daniel House.
Yeah,
You mentioned matchups. Is it more Robert Covington? Is it more Marcus Morris on a certain night? So,
right.
to me, I would say the solidified to wrap up here. We like to play this game all the time. What's your rotation? Your solidifies your starting 5, and then off the bench, I would say you have B-Ball, you have Pat Bev, and you have Kelly. Those would be the first 3.
The
And
3
then
locks.
where you go from there, that's 8. You do have Marcus Morris, you have Robert Covington. That's 10. And I agree, you could get to 11 and throw
Yeah.
someone else. In there. So
And once again, man, the Sixers building and developing talent. Once again, Ricky Council, what is it? Ricky Council the third or something, or the fourth?
the fourth, I think.
Ricky Council the fourth.
I go off. It's the
damn.
4th. I go off of the Rocky title.
Yeah, exactly. I knew it wasn't the
IV.
third because it was. I know what you mean. So he goes 6 for 10 from 3 in a game the other night, right? So like they've just started. It's Daryl Morey. It looks like a professional organization. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like compared to the process years. Now, obviously, back in the day, Hinkie, we love that. The way he was building things, it was very similar to what they're doing over in OKC with Sam Presti, but now through that tumultuous time of Colangelo and Elton Brand being brought in and going through that time period, you now start to see a professional organization start to be built here and run the correct way. And I think that's
and I think
stability.
Again, we get kind of blinded by the blowouts and that, like we were talking so hype about it, but you move on from the Tobias Harris hate and we need to be better here and what we need to trade deadline. But it's where I've kind of turned my sights to. If this team, this is the kind of trade that you're looking for, right? You could get one player better that maybe, but here's the thing. Yeah, you have, let's say 10 guys right now. I'm not looking to add number 11.
Yeah.
I'm looking to add like number 7 and push the line down. You know what I mean?
I'm going to do
this
a little
team gets their hands on Malcolm Brogdon. And I don't know how legit that is anymore. I remember one tweet came out about it. He's injured. He doesn't want to be in Portland. If they can get a healthy Malcolm Brogdon at the deadline.
I'm going to do some campaigning here for a Duke guy of mine.
Let me hear it.
So Tyus Jones on the godforsaken Washington Wizards.
Yeah, he had a night last night, didn't he?
Last night, right? 22, 11, and 4 against the Phoenix Suns, 4 for 6 from the three-point line. The night before that, or the game before that, against the Pacers in a win, he had 13 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds in that game. On the season, he's averaging 12 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. And the shooting splits, 52% from the field, 37% from 3. So when you talk about Malcolm Brogdon, like by all means, Malcolm Brogdon, you go out,
Right.
you get him.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. But even if you were looking for like a lower cost guy, I think Tyus Jones could be that guy. Like you said, 7th or 8th guy off the bench. And he really does give me like that Derek White type of vibe just because he does have the championship experience from college.
Let me
My last Duke
flash you
national
back.
championship.
Let me flash you back to, I believe it was it 2021? I believe it was 2021, Morey's first year. What the Sixers need right now at the deadline is exactly the kind of move they were aiming for in 2021. Now, not the player, and he was hurt, and he didn't want to be here, and he didn't have the impact. I'm not talking like that. I'm talking about that one when they traded for George Hill.
Yeah, okay.
At the time, it was underwhelming to us because we knew they weren't good enough as is to probably win a title. And that's even the year they were the 1 seed, right? But they bring in George Hill, and it's like, is that going to do it?
Is that enough?
A role player like that George Hill, like Tyus Jones, like Malcolm Brogdon, like anybody.
Yeah.
That's going to get this Sixers fan oddly excited. Because that's what I'm looking for. I think they are built now what they attempted to do in 2021. That one, they were looking at one piece off the bench, a ball handler that could score and shoot a little bit. They went out, they got George Hill, but they weren't there. They weren't ready yet. If looking back on it now, they're ready, Scotty.
Yeah.
And I don't think you need this. We all love splash and start. No, I don't need it. I need 1 to 2 guys that can help this team. That's it.
How full circle would it be to go out and get Marcus Smart and have him be your 6th man against Boston in the playoffs?
Hilarious.
Like, you don't think that he would have some animosity and some extra fuel in there? Like, I would bring him in just for that.
Absolutely.
Just to have some intel, but hopefully he's not an op like Al Horford, man. That was
true.
We had an inside operative from Boston on our team for a little while there. But
that's true.
Man, yeah, I'm with you. Any one of these guys, like Smart, Brogdon. I mean, I think Markkanen, that's like a little bit different.
Markkanen's a little higher level, I think.
Because I think you're going to give up a lot to get a guy like that. But Caruso, Smart, Brogdon, Tyus.
And you have Marcus Morris, who you know is ready to go on the snap of a finger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because that whole debacle between Isaiah Stewart and Pat Bev, you just saw Marcus Morris come up like the big bro. Like, what we doing?
Basically,
here,
cut that shit.
Like, we're not doing this here, dog. No. You the Detroit Pistons, you lost 22 straight games. Like, shut the fuck up.
I believe now they're at 23. I saw there were like brawls and riots going on outside the Little Caesars Arena. That's what you get for calling it the Little Caesars Arena.
Why are you fighting over the 2 and 23 Detroit Pistons or whatever the hell they are, man? That is ridiculous. Good vibe for the Sixers, though.
Another hour and 20+ minute show here, man.
Gotta love it.
Never simple, never easy, right? But
never.
By the way, last little thing, Bryce Harper FaceTiming Yamamoto as part of his pitch came out this morning from John Heyman.
The difference.
We'll see. We'll see what Bryce had to say, if it persuaded him or not. Maybe the FaceTime was enough. Maybe Yamamoto's like, hey man, you couldn't come see me for this pitch. You know, maybe he took it as a slap in the face. I don't know. I do not know, but something we'll keep an eye on. I need rumors, man. I need something. The Sixers, the Eagles, they're in play. There's always something to hypothetical talk here on the show in an off season.
But maybe the Phillies are going to surprise us.
Yeah, I need the Phillies to do something active over the next month or so and get me back in the swing there. But with that said, guys, I see about a dozen people in here right now to end the show. If you guys are new to the channel, if you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button. This is the best spot for you to be interactive here on the channel. Pull up your comments and questions anytime we're live here on the show, like we do. Brett, Marshall Lynch, D-Rab, Hunter, we appreciate each and every one of you. We will be live tonight on the channel, 6 p.m. Eagles, Seahawks, Monday Night Football pregame show. So come hang out with us there, and we'll give you guys our game predictions and keys to victory. For myself and Scotty and DSM, have a great rest of your Monday.